Life has no meaning. Few sentences sound more settled than that. No drama, no anger, no superstition. Just clarity. For many modern people, this line feels like the end of philosophy. What remains after illusions have been stripped away? No God. No cosmic purpose. No story written into the universe. Just matter, motion, and time. And yet, here's the strange thing. This sentence never behaves like a dead end. It behaves like a statement that wants to be taken seriously. Argued for, defended, understood. Tonight, we are not asking whether life does have meaning. We're asking something quieter and more unsettling. Why does the claim, life has no meaning, itself seem to mean something? Part 1. What people think they're saying. When someone says, life has no meaning, they usually mean something like this. There is no built-in purpose to the universe. No objective reason why humans exist. No cosmic plan written into reality. We are here by chance. We live, we struggle, we die. Any meaning we experience is subjective. A psychological projection. A story we tell ourselves to cope. This position often feels honest, intellectually mature, free from comforting myths. And to be fair, it deserves to be taken seriously. But we need to slow down and ask, what kind of claim is this? Really? Part 2. This is not just a feeling. Life has no meaning is often presented as a personal outlook. But listen closely. It's rarely expressed as, I personally don't feel meaning. It's almost always expressed as, there is no meaning. That's a claim about reality itself. It's not psychology. It's not mood. It's metaphysics. It says something about what exists, what does not, what is ultimately the case. And metaphysical claims carry expectations. That they are true rather than false. That they describe the world accurately. That others ought to understand them. Already, meaning is sneaking in. Part 3. What must be true for the claim to work? To successfully say, life has no meaning, several things must already be in place. Let's name a few. First, language must matter. Words must reliably point to reality. Second, reason must matter. Arguments must be better than confusion. Third, truth must matter. The claim must be more accurate than its opposite. Fourth, understanding must matter. It must be better to see clearly than to be mistaken. None of these are emotional reactions. They are normative commitments. They tell us how thinking ought to work. But here's the tension. If reality is fundamentally meaningless, where do these oughts come from? Part 4. The silent dependence. Imagine a universe with absolutely no meaning. Not subjective meaning. Not cultural meaning. Not biological usefulness. Just raw, indifferent fact. In such a universe, nothing should be believed. Nothing ought to be understood. Nothing is better than anything else. And yet, the claim, life has no meaning, demands to be taken as true. It doesn't present itself as noise. It presents itself as insight. Which raises an uncomfortable thought. The denial of meaning relies on a background where meaning already exists. Part 5. Why silence would be more consistent. If nothing matters in any ultimate sense, why say anything at all? Why argue? Why explain? Why persuade? Why care whether others agree or disagree? The most consistent response to total meaninglessness would not be a manifesto. It would be silence. But no one remains silent. Even nihilism wants to be understood. Even nihilism wants to be right. Part 6. Meaning is just a tool for survival. At this point, a common reply appears. Meaning isn't real in any deep sense. It's just an evolutionary tool. We evolved to see patterns, to value survival, to prefer coherence over chaos. Meaning helps us function. But notice what this explanation does, and doesn't, do. It may explain why we feel meaning. But it does not explain why truth matters more than falsehood. Why rationality should be trusted. Why understanding is better than misunderstanding. Evolution selects for survival, not truth. A belief can be false and still be useful. So if meaning is just an evolutionary byproduct, why trust the conclusion that life has no meaning as true rather than merely useful? Part 7. The self-referential problem. Here's the quiet paradox. If our deepest convictions are shaped solely by survival pressure, then the belief, life has no meaning, is also just a survival product, which means it carries no special authority. It's just another adaptive narrative. But that's not how it's presented. It's presented as what reality is really like. And that requires something more than survival. Part 8. We create our own meaning. Another popular response sounds hopeful. Life has no inherent meaning, but we create our own. This move tries to save what matters, without appealing to anything beyond us. But notice what remains intact. Meaning is still good. Meaninglessness is still bad. Creating meaning is still worth doing. Despair is still something to resist. The question quietly returns. Why should meaning be preferred? If, ultimately, nothing matters? Preference itself assumes value. And value is already meaning-shaped. Part 9. The emotional power of nihilism. There's a reason nihilism feels powerful. It strips away false comforts. It confronts suffering honestly. It refuses easy answers. But power is not the same as coherence. A position can feel brave and still be internally unstable. The issue is not that nihilism is emotionally dark. The issue is that it cannot account for the light it uses. Truth, reason, intelligibility, normativity. Part 10. This is not about religion. Let's pause and be clear. This is not an argument that says, therefore, God exists. That would be too fast. What we're doing is slower. We're noticing that modern atheism often rejects God, but keeps the structures of meaning God once grounded. Truth still matters. Reason still matters. Understanding still matters. The question is not whether these things exist. The question is, what kind of reality makes them possible? Part 11. The inherited framework. Historically, meaning was not an accident. In classical thought, reality was intelligible, ordered, oriented toward truth. Meaning wasn't something humans invented. It was something humans discovered. Modern secular thought removed the source, but kept the expectations. The result? A worldview that still speaks in moral and rational language, while denying any ultimate ground for it. Part 12. Why this tension matters. This isn't just philosophy. It shapes how we live. If meaning is illusory, why sacrifice? Why tell the truth when it costs you? Why resist despair? And yet, we do all these things. We act as if truth deserves loyalty. Suffering calls for compassion. Understanding is worth pursuing. Not because it helps us survive, but because it feels right. Part 13. The question nihilism can't stop asking. Here is the question nihilism keeps circling but never answers. Why does reality appear to be intelligible at all? Why can minds grasp the world? Why does logic apply? Why does truth matter? These are not scientific questions. They are preconditions for science itself. Conclusion. A meaning that won't disappear. So let's return to the sentence we started with. Life has no meaning. We can now see it differently. It is not neutral. It is not empty. It carries hidden assumptions about truth, reason, value, intelligibility. It denies meaning, while quietly relying on it. You don't have to believe in God to notice this. You just have to be honest about what your own thinking depends on. So maybe the real question isn't, does life have meaning? But something more unsettling. Why does the universe keep allowing us to speak, reason, and seek truth, as if meaning were written into reality itself? That question doesn't demand belief, but it refuses to disappear. And perhaps that's where the real conversation begins.